In this video, we'll go over photosynthesis and fiber. Photosynthesis is the process in which plants take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and water in the soil, along with energy from the sun and chlorophyll in the plant, makes glucose and releases oxygen into the atmosphere. So that energy from the sun is captured in the carbon-to-carbon bonds and forms starch. Remember, starch is how plants store energy. Starch is alpha-linked glucose molecules, but also in this process, fiber is made, and fiber are beta-linked glucose molecules. The edible, indigestible portion of food, also known as residue, that remains after food has been digested and absorbed into the circulatory system. What's left over that travels across the ileocecal valve into the large intestine is the fiber. Glucose molecules link together with what are called alpha-linked. Indigestible fiber, beta-linked glucose molecules. And as we've said, alpha-linked glucose molecules can be digested by the amylase enzymes in our body, but beta-linked glucose molecules, we do not have the enzymes to break them down, and that's why fiber is indigestible. But we also have something called resistant starch. So I have to tell you, resistant starch is also alpha-linked glucose molecules that resists enzymatic hydrolysis. So what happens is we have these alpha-linked starch molecules that are not broken down by the body, and they do pass from the small intestine into the large intestine and are broken down by the bacteria in the large intestine. I will talk to you in class about prebiotics. I think of resistant starch as prebiotics that are probably much better for you if you're concerned about the bacteria, the good bacteria in your gut. Prebiotics is the way to go, not probiotics. Let's review some of the different categories of fiber. I'm not asking you to remember specific sources, but I would like you to know the difference between soluble and insoluble fiber. Soluble fiber is hydrophilic or water-friendly. If I put oat bran, which is a soluble fiber, into my hand and poured water on it, it would absorb that water because soluble fiber absorbs water. It attracts water. That's why it's called soluble fiber. And it's found in the inside portion of apples. The insoluble fiber is the skin of the apple. We also find soluble fiber in legumes and oats. Insoluble fiber, if I put wheat bran into the palm of my hand and pour water on it, it would go right through and, well, soak my hand. Insoluble fiber is hydrophobic. It does not soften or form a gel in water. It does not attract water. And it's found in the skin of apples. It's the stringy parts of the celery, and it's also found in whole grain breads and cereals. We're looking at different types of fiber in this slide. I'm only asking you to remember soluble and insoluble. It is possible in a few years I'll be talking more about fermentable fibers and viscous fibers. Recommendations, this is cocktail chatter for you. You can use it. You'll be asked about it in your diet project. Recommendations for total fiber intake you can see here. For males, it tends to be higher because men tend to be larger and consume more calories, but on a per calorie basis, if it's 1.4 grams per 100 calories consumed. If you're consuming a 4,200 calorie diet, that's almost to 60 grams of fiber per day is the recommendation. High fiber foods would be foods that contain more than 2 grams of fiber per 100 calories or more than 2 grams of fiber per serving. We get fiber from these sources. Most Americans consume 13 to 15 grams per day. So you can see most folks are below the recommendations, although it has gone up. When I first started teaching, it was 11 to 13. This is cocktail chatter as well. These are different food sources and the amounts of fiber in each serving. So you can have a look at grains, vegetables, and fruit. Now we'll look at some of the benefits, the actions of fiber. And remember, we are talking about soluble and insoluble fiber right now. We're not looking at the other categories of fiber because that will be down the road. Some of the benefits: fiber provides bulk, which means that it increases the volume of food in the diet without adding calories. In other words, it decreases the caloric density of a food. It also bulks the stool volume, which makes it less likely to cause constipation. Both soluble and insoluble fiber provide these benefits. Fiber can act as a stool softener. That's because the complex carbohydrate chemical structures are hydrophilic. They're water-loving, so they create a softer stool that moves more easily through the gastrointestinal tract. It can help relieve constipation, hemorrhoids, and diverticulosis, which I'll talk about in a minute. Both types of fiber provide these benefits.